Hey everyone, welcome to our third video. Today we're going to talk about the Feast of the Conversion of St. Paul, which we celebrate every year on January 25th. So who is Saul? Saul was a young Jewish man who hated Christians. He believed that the teachings of Jesus actually violated the law of Moses. He even went so far as to harass and put people in jail if he found out that they believed in Jesus Christ.
Wait a second. Okay. I thought we were talking about St. Paul this week, like with a P, not an S. See, this week we are talking about St. Paul with a P because he, first of all, was a super passionate follower of Jesus Christ. Second, he wrote most of the New Testament. In the New Testament, there's the 4 Gospels, and then there's a bunch of books and letters afterwards. So there's 27 of them in total, and St. Paul wrote 14 of them. That's 14, like I don't even have enough fingers. I need 4 more fingers. There we go. 14 of those letters and books were written by St. Paul. And he was so passionate about his following of Jesus Christ that he even went all over the world so that he could spread the good news and make sure that everyone he encountered knew about Jesus Christ.
But that's just it, Tim. In order to know who Paul is, you have to know who Saul is.
Okay.
Saul and some other men were traveling to a town called Damascus. And on that trip, Saul was blinded by a light brighter than you can ever imagine. That light was the risen Jesus Christ. And Jesus had a question for Saul. He asked Saul, he said, "Why are you persecuting me?" In other words, why don't you love me? Why are you putting people in jail because they believe in me? Saul was blinded for 3 full days. Now the other guys traveling with him had to help him continue on that journey to Damascus. And while they did that, God spoke to another disciple that he knew, a guy named Ananias. And he asked Ananias to help him. He said, "When Saul gets there, I need you to go meet him, and please lay your hands on him so you can heal him." Ananias responded and said, Saul's a really bad guy. Like, he doesn't believe in you. The Lord responded and said, "Go. Saul is a chosen instrument of mine, and he will carry my name to the Gentiles, the kings, and the sons of Israel." Ananias said, "Okay, I'll go meet him." He meets him, he heals him, and when Saul's physical blindness is cured, Saul is completely transformed.
So, Saul, becomes Paul, is healed of his blindness so he can physically see, but also he's also healed of his own internal blindness so he can look back and see all the bad things he did and also see the brilliance that is the teachings of Jesus?
Exactly.
Okay.
So why do we celebrate the Feast of the Conversion of St. Paul on January 25th every year?
Okay, so if I'm correct, the Feast of the Conversion of St. Paul reminds us of the story of how Saul encountered the risen Christ and became Paul. And so it's that reminder to us that every time we encounter Christ, it's an opportunity for us to shed who we used to be and become better versions of ourselves.
Exactly.
So Saul, who did all of these terrible things, was able to shed the cloak of Saul, the being of who he was as Saul, and become St. Paul with a P, not an S.
Right?
And go forward to do great things. And it's a great reminder to us that there's no such thing as being too far gone. There's no such thing as a sin that is unforgivable. There's no such thing as, okay, well, you've done too much wrong. You can't come to Jesus and be forgiven and move on with your life. And I think that's a really great reminder for us, is when we encounter Christ, are we taking that as an opportunity to move past who we used to be and to go on as being better people? You know? So, if I had to put it in one sentence, I would say that even the greatest sinner can become the greatest saint.
Well said.